is the medium by which we will fulfill our divine mandate in our humanness. In other words, we are all too closely tied to our humanness in the sense that we don't see anything other than what the flesh wants us to see. Now, this is where the problem lies. Before Abraham, we are always told in the parable that there were men. And indeed, before Abraham, there were men. But why Abraham comes into the picture lies simply in the fact that he can be described as the first man to walk in faith. What was it that he saw in his generation? And what was it that God wanted him to overcome? But we need to understand that faith may not appear to be as simple as we think it is because of the numerous pressure and challenges that comes with trying to express life in faith. And whether we like it or not, it is real. Faith has got enemies. Faith has got myriads of enemies, and they are very, very strong. But one thing needs to be very clear in our mind, that if we have to operate by faith, we must understand what faith is given to us for. What is the purpose of the faith? And then, if you can understand it from that angle, you now begin to think about the next thing. When you understand what the purpose of faith is, now you ask yourself, what are the challenges to your faith? What are the things that come to want to upset you? What are the things that want to pull down your faith life? How do you deal with them? So in other words, you are asking yourself, how do you overcome in the faith? That is to say, how do you overcome the enemies of faith? Now, let's start by looking at the first question. What is the relevance of faith to your purpose in life? What is the relevance of faith in your purpose in life? This is where many of us see things differently. Some of us are very, very carnal. We see things in the flesh, only in the flesh. You can't understand that just as we see things physically, the spiritual realm is more real. But that physical realm doesn't make any impression in your heart, because somewhere in your heart, you tell yourself that what you can see is what you are limited to. That is what concerns you. So just live your life according to what you see. But we know that from the very beginning of time, it wasn't so. What God created in the beginning was created with the impression that he was setting man up in such a way that man was going to come into this realm to represent him. And you just cannot be representing God in yourself and for yourself. You can't be representing God, just for your sake. You must understand that if you are representing him, you are representing him for him. So he didn't create you for yourself. He created you for his purpose. Now, if he created you for his purpose, you must understand that for you to actually function in his purpose, you need his life. You need his perspective. You need everything about God to be able to function in his purpose. And that is where faith actually comes in. So when you take faith away, you are just an ordinary human being living in the flesh. And much more than a carnal human being, I want you to understand that you are a spirit man, you have a soul, and you are living in a body. You are a spirit man You have a soul and you are living in a body. Now, how do you relate with the world? How do you relate with Satan, who has literally captured the world in the same way that Tinubu has captured Nigeria? How do you relate with him? And what do you consider to be the enemies of the faith? Because let me tell you this. The reason why he captures the world is because he wants to make the world his own. But is the world his own? No. Now, and if he wants to make the world his own, anything at all that you need in order to make the world God's own, do you think he'll be happy with it? So what do you think he will do? He will fight it, isn't it? Good. So what we call the enemies of the faith, they are actually twofold, and I will explain them to you. And if I say they are twofold, let's begin to look at it from that point. But there's one aspect of it that we can expand to such a degree that you see many, many things. The first thing that I want us to read as scripture is taken from the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse number 7. 2 Corinthians 5, verse number 7.